Hello CS112, today I'll be going over a quick solution to Lab 0 which had to do with the initial setup of Python and running a basic Python file via your command prompt or terminal. The very first thing I'm going to do, since I'm assuming all of you guys have already tried installing Python, is to verify that you have installed Python correctly. Then I will show you how to delete Python off your computer in case an initial setup went a little weird. Then I'll show you guys how to download Python, then download a text editor, and then finally run code from that text editor via your command prompt or terminal. Now I will be running this on a Windows computer, but I will explain how to do this on a Mac and Linux machine as well. So the very first thing we want to do is check if we have the correct version of Python installed. So for Windows, you're going to go to your little Windows guy here, click on the search bar and type in CMD for the command prompt. Once you click on it, a black box should open here and you are ready to verify if you have Python installed. For Mac and Linux users, you would go to your Finder or whatever you use to search it up, and then you would type in terminal. That's terminal, like this. Hit enter, and then it will be a little black icon like this. So once you have that set up, to verify that you have Python installed, for Windows users, you would either type in Python --version or py --version. So it will display the Python you have installed correctly. And the difference between it being Py and Python for Windows users, it's not that big of a difference. It's just system specific. But for my download, py seemed to be working and Python didn't. So for instance, if I tried typing Python version, it's saying Python wasn't found for me. So that's why for Windows, I need to use py now. So for Mac users, though, you are going to need to type in Python 3 --version and click enter. So obviously that's not going to work since this is not a Mac machine. But as you can see, if you did get one of these errors, no problem. That is where we're going to start now. But as long as you have something like 3.11 point something, you just need 3.11 and above. This is semantic versioning, so you should be good with 3.11 point whatever. You can go ahead and skip ahead in the video if you are seeing something like this. All right, so now the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete Python off of this computer in case somebody has tried something already to download it and it has gone wrong. So I'm going to go to my control panel or wherever you would usually go to uninstall programs. I'm going to type in Python, and I'm going to install both Python and the Python launcher. So this might actually take a little while, so it wouldn't hurt if you guys wanted to skip ahead in the video. I am probably going to cut this out. Alrighty. Uninstall was successful for Python. Now we also, excuse me, now we also need to uninstall the Python launcher, which should be a little quicker. And it should go away. So now there should be nothing installed that is associated with Python. So now what we need to do is you can either click on the link that was on the Blackboard slides, or you can just Google Python download and click on the python.org downloads link. When I go here, it should automatically detect your operating system. For me here, it does already show Windows, so it's giving me a link to download directly from Windows. You should verify that, though, just in case it messes up. So I'm going to click Download Python 3.11.1, and that is going here. But before I do that, I just want to show you guys that I do indeed not have Python downloaded anymore. So I'm going to type in py --version, and it's not being recognized. So now we do want to bring it back like it was working before. So I'm going to click on the executable. Now this is a very, very important step, especially for Mac users, or in fact, only for Mac users. You need to click this button right here, add to path. If you don't, it won't be tied in with your terminal. So I'm going to click install now. And again, this might take a little bit, but you can skip ahead in the video if you want to. Okay. I believe it has been installed, hopefully. Maybe not. Okay, setup was successful. Now there are some of these guys on here, but we don't really need that. I'm just gonna click close. Now let's check if we have it downloaded. So again, I'm gonna open up my command prompt and I'm going to type, let's try Python first to see which works. So Python wasn't found. So for me, it is going to be just py. So something to keep in mind every time, if py works for you, if you see a professor typing Python or Python 3, your command is going to be py. They're all the same commands, it's just system specific. Again, if you're a Mac user, you will type in Python 3 dash dash version, and it should display the version that you have downloaded. So now, before I go on to talk about the notepad, something I would like to talk about, since this was a problem with a lot of people during the lab, if you just type in your Python commands in your command prompt or terminal and click enter, you will see the version of Python you've downloaded, but then you will enter a Python environment. This is an isolated environment where you can do very simple things like x equals 3, y equals 4, print x plus y. You can do simple Python like that, but you can't actually interact with files on your computer. So before, during labs, people would, they would download Python, they would just type in py alone, they would see these 3 carets, and then they would try CDing or going to where their files to try to run it, but you cannot interact with the computer in this enclosed environment. So again, if you see these 3 carets, you are not in a place to actually interact with your computer. So I'm just going to type in exit, and I am back to where I can actually interact with my computer. But I'm not going to do that quite yet. I need to download a text editor. Something else I would like to mention is that it is important that you need to open up a new command prompt after downloading Python. So if you checked Python beforehand, if it was installed and it wasn't, and then you kept that same terminal open, it might not have picked up on your most recent download. So just close that command prompt and open it back up. So I'm just going to close this one since we're done. We're done with this tab now. So there were 2 suggested text editors for Mac users and I think Linux users as well. Notepad++ was recommended. And for Mac, BBEdit. You can, again, just Google either of these, click on the barebones.com one for BBEdit and just do the free download. Never pay for anything in this class. Always the free download. And it's just a pretty straightforward downloading process. You do not want to download any of the extensions. That would be not allowed in this class. And I'm not going to do that since I'm not on Windows, but I'll just download this real quick. I actually don't know if I have this downloaded or not. Let's find out. So again, I just clicked on the current version link here, and I'm going to click download. Okay, so it is installing here. I'm going to allow it to make changes on my device. I'm going to set it to English, and again, it's just very simple, very simple setup. Just click OK. And sure, I'm going to let it run right now just so I can open it real quick and write some code. The reason I do have this last link set up here is because this is the text editor I use. I actually have a pins to my taskbar here. It, in my opinion, is the best one to use. A lot of professors use this as well. It's just a lot cleaner and more powerful as you grow as a CS student. But anyways, this is nice too. The first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the change.log. That's just like information of your initial download, letting you know it's up. So now you should see something like this. BB edit also looks similar. So now how can I run this as a Python file? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to type out the code. So I'm going to say prints hello world, if I can type today. All right, so now this is very plain. It just looks like regular text. However, if I go to File and then Save As, this is the same for that's the same for BB Edit, VS Code, or Notepad++. It's all going to be the same. File, Save As. I'm going to save it to a place I'm going to remember. So in this case, I'm going to go to my OneDrive. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to my UTA folder. And then I'm going to rename this as my net ID underscore my lab section, which is to something something underscore lab00.py. This .py is the most important part. This is what's going to automatically convert it to a Python file rather than just a normal text file. You can just click on here and go and find Python file wherever it is in this list, but by doing that, your file name would be netid 2xx lab0.py.py, and that will be an error. So just do this. It's a lot easier. It'll automatically convert it. So now that I know it's saved in my school UTA folder, I'm going to click Save. And as you can see, the colors changed. It now looks like a little bit more like code. Something else to note is that the path directly to this file here is also displayed at the top of your, at the top of the thing here. It's also going to be located in that on pretty much every other text editor, such as VS Code and BB Edit. So we know exactly where it's located. Now that we know exactly where it's located, we can run it. The most important thing is that you remember to save this file. Something that most text editors have is something will change up here if you start typing. So for instance, it is saved right now, but if I type a little bit, that little asterisk came. If I hit Control S, the asterisk went away. So it's always important to know when your file is saved. So when you're running it, you're actually running it with the most updated version. So for this part, I will show both how Mac, Linux, and Windows users will run this file. Since I do have Git Bash, which is also a Unix-based terminal like Mac, but first I'm going to just show on Windows. So fortunately for Windows, the little prompter here for you, I'm trying to make this a little smaller. The little prompter here is actually already showing you your path. Now you need to make it match the path up here. So you see I'm in users, nice P, users, nice P. I need to go into OneDrive, then into school, then into my UTA folder, and that is where my PY file exists. So how do I do that? I type cd space OneDrive. It is very specific with the spacing and the capitalization. Something to note is if you do type the first couple of letters like I did here, you can hit tab and it will autocomplete. It's the same for Mac. Something else to note is if your file name has a space, so for instance, if this was one space drive, a way you would do that is you would need to put it in quotes, so it would look like this. Since if you didn't put the quotes, it would see one and drive as two separate arguments. So moving on from that, I'm going to say OneDrive / school / UTA, and now I'm in the same location as this as my file here. So now what did I just do? This looks really complex, but all this is doing, I'm just going to show you real quick. All this is doing is going through in here. So when I said cd OneDrive, I am now clicking in here to my OneDrive. So actually, let's back out a little bit and look at this. Let's go back one more. So when I say cd OneDrive, so cd OneDrive, I am now at this scope. I can see all of these things. So if I was to list everything out here, as you can see, I have my daily planner. I have all these other things that I can now see here. I now cd into my school directory, cd school, click in school, and now I can see all these files here. So if I list everything out, that's exactly what I see here. So it's literally just, this is literally just your file explorer, but it looks more like like you're a hacker or something, I don't know. Then I'm going to go to UTA, where if I list everything out, you see all this stuff. And again, that's all I'm doing with that. So I'm just going to close this up real quick. So now, now that we are in the same file location as our Python file, we can run it. So that's the most important part is actually getting to the location of your file. So I'm going to type py, since that is my personal Python commands, followed by the name of the file, which, as you can see, again, you can just type in the first couple letters, hit tab to autocomplete, hit enter, and it will print hello world. So if I wanted this to say anything else, like hello all, I would type hello all, hit Control S to save. Again, I don't want to see that asterisk there. I actually want to save it. And if I want to run it again, it now has changed to hello all. So that's why it's good to always remember to hit Control S to save or Command S. Another little tip here, which also works for Mac users, is if you hit the up arrow key, it will call the most recent commands. Down arrow will scroll up and down. So now I'm quickly going to show you how to do it for Mac users, because your terminal looks a little bit different. So I'm going to open up Git Bash, which is a Unix-based operating system. So it will, or sorry, a Unix-based terminal, which will look more similar to what a Mac user is seeing. So you will have this little $sign, I believe, or a %sign, but this is typically what it will look like for Mac users. So again, the first thing I want to do is actually CD into my OneDrive, and then school, and then UTA. And now to see all the contents in here, it is not dir, that is not what you would type. You would just type in ls to list everything out. Ls does not work on Windows, it only works on Unix terminals. So as you can see, I can see the Python file I have created. And here, I do think it's still going to be py. I'm going to run it, and it says hello all. A couple of other things. It might list this out on Mac. It might list your your current path. But if you wanted to view it, if it's not, you would type in pwd, and that will show you your current path. It is good to get comfortable with your command line or terminal, because you will be using it all semester, and if you are a CS major, you will be using it for pretty much the rest of your life. So if you have any questions, do let us know.